Sled dogs have a huge history in Alaska. They were, that's how Alaska was built basically, and how the natives and all of those early settlements, that's how they got around. That's how they hauled their gear and supplies, and that's how they hunted and fished. And you know, it's huge. And once the snow machine came along, you know, that was easier. It was easier to dump a bunch of gas in that thing and hit the throttle and go haul stuff around. So I feel like the race and the races have sort of kept the dogs alive.
Why are we going to miss this?
I've been telling people for the last 2 months I can't wait till my Iditarod vacation. Because when I get on an Iditarod trail, all I have is 14 dogs and a wilderness that I love, and that's all I have to take care of. At home, I've got 56 dogs, a homestead, generators, water that freezes, handlers I have to manage. I don't think there's a lot of places in the world where you can live like we live in Alaska, you know. And I mean, where my homestead is, I live totally off the grid. There's no power. We create all the power with the generator, a battery system. We're pretty much self-sufficient. You know, all my stuff gets, I haul all my own stuff in, and it's a struggle. It's a real labor of love sort of lifestyle. But I thrive on the challenges. If I had to wake up every day and do the same thing, I wouldn't be happy. When I was 5 years old, my grandma and grandpa came back from a tour in Alaska, and they showed us pictures of mountains and rivers and, you know, all of Alaska. And I told my parents when I was 5 that I wanted to go to Alaska and live in Alaska and live in those mountains and rivers. And so ever since I was that age, I just had it in the back of my head. And so it truly is sort of living my dream since I was a little kid. Last year in the Iditarod, when I left Koyuk, it was a really challenging, I mean, it was a fun race, I had a great time, but I had Dallas CV on my butt the whole way, and that's a lot of pressure, and I was leading the whole way, and so you put a lot of pressure on yourself doing that. And we were talking about sleep deprivation a little bit ago. I had gotten really burned out, and by Koyuk, you're about 200 miles from the finish line, and when I went through that checkpoint, I was really depleted, and I was really, you know, barely hanging on. Like, I was falling asleep on the back of the sled, and we were in a storm, and it was pretty hard time for me. And they feed off of my energy. You know, like, if I'm happy and positive and upbeat, the dogs are going to be happy and positive and upbeat. But that also works both ways, and I found that out really strongly. Is that when I was at my lowest in the race during that time, the dogs like found another gear. And I could see it. Like, I was literally like hunched over the sled. I was just super tired. I couldn't help them anymore, and we were going pretty slow. And then they just saw that I was sort of depleted, and they picked it up, and it made all the difference in the race for us. We were able to maintain our lead and go on and win. I'm living in the middle of nowhere at this homestead. If I didn't have 50 dogs out there, I don't know that I would be there, because what would I be doing? Just twiddling my thumbs in a cabin all day long, you know? So like, the dogs fulfill everything in my life. They're my best friends. I don't have a immediate family. I don't have a wife or kids, and so they're my family. I spend every single day of the year with them, training them and raising them, and you know, and the bond and the connection that I build with them has been so amazing. And then, like I say, that's what's made us successful in the racing thing.
One of those dogs is a little different, and so getting to know each dog in that individual litter, and then watch them grow up and watch them to get really good, and is a lot of fun. You know, they're kind of lovers too. They lick you in the face, and they trust people, and I like that. From the time they're puppies, we kind of instill on them when to eat, how to eat, and all these little steps to success, you know, so that when they go into a race like that, it doesn't matter how difficult it is. First of all, you're running a series of runs, you know, so you're running 40, 50, 60 miles, whatever. Then you're resting for quite a period of time where they're eating and things like that. So you teach them that, down with straw. You teach them camping on straw.
over 4,000 miles on the dogs before I got to the race here, in training and mid-distance races. And by doing that, you bring them to the race in good shape. And then during the race, your entire focus is dog care. If you don't take care of your dogs, you're not going to get to be able to run 1,000 miles. That's just a fact. And so, you know, we can drop dogs along the way if they get sick or injured, but we can't add dogs. So you have to take care of your dogs, and that means, you know, feeding them proper foods, stopping when you need to stop to take care of a booty that falls off, you know, putting booties on them at every stop, and watching, and if the booty falls off, replacing the booty so that their feet stay in good shape. You know, if their feet get hurt, they can run, but it's like a person running with a blister. It's not that much fun, right? So if you can eliminate all those little nicks and dings and stay on all their little rubs and putting ointment on them, and just really paying attention to all the small details, that's the stuff that makes you a champion. This is a very expensive lifestyle and sport, and you know, you get sponsors and the sponsors help, but then you have to do things for the sponsors. And with my life, like, I don't have a spare second in my life, and so it's tough to take on a bunch of sponsors. So I've been fortunate enough to create a life, like a lot of people have, like, are like lawyers, you know, and they're lawyers and they have a 9-to-5 job, and then they come home and they run dogs at night, and that's tough, you know. So I decided early on that I wanted to be as full-time a musher as I could and be with my dogs as much as possible. So I created a wilderness guiding company that I guide expeditions in April. So right after Iditarod, I'm going straight up to the Arctic. You're kind of always poor. You never, I mean, my dog food bill is somewhere around $100,000 a year. So, and if I win the Iditarod, I get 50. So it's a labor of love. You got to really want to do this in order to make it worthwhile.
Once you get on a trail, for most of them it's like a big family, and for a lot of the volunteers it's like a big reunion.
It's a big sense of community. I think that's one of the things that sets mushing out as far as a competitive type sport, is that if you come across somebody broke down on the trail, you're going to try and help them. You know, my early career in the Quest, I was known for getting through storms and helping people. I mean, I drug so many teams over Eagle Summit. It's a really steep summit in the race where you'd come along and somebody not being able to get up quite over the summit, and I'd drive my dogs by and go down. There's plenty of times I drug dog teams, help drag dog teams, get them up over the Tap Pass, and get people through storms. And so yeah, my early career before I started being successful and being up front so that I didn't have to worry about anybody back there was full of helping people out, and I've been helped out on the trail. And I think that in general it's a community of people, and even though we're competitors, we're all friends as well. It's driven me harder than I found something that drives me hard. That it was a goal that I wanted to go after, and I think that goals are the most important thing you can have in life. It's having goals to go after, and Iditarod was a really big goal and a challenge that I take on every year, and it continues to do it. You know, even now that I've won, I'm going to try and win again. You know, and so that goal, the drive and determination is still there. It's one of the things that gets me out of bed every morning. You know, is thinking about the Iditarod and out here racing with the dogs.
And around the world scuba diving and mountain climbing, and as soon as I started running dogs in Alaska, it just sort of took over everything. Like that. It just doesn't get any better than this.